Murray the magician was in a mood. It was more than morose. It was miserable. Minimal audiences attended his shows. That's what miffed him the most. To help you understand why Murray was so mopey, let's take a listen to the amount of applause at the end of his show. So on the count of 3, I'm going to pretend I'm Murray. I'm going to take a bow. You guys are going to be the audience, and I want you to be absolutely silent. All right, 1, 2, 3. Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests, Murray was at a milestone. Murray was running out of motivation. Murray was running out of money. In desperation, he even gambled on an earthworm race that was supposed to be a sure thing, and he lost. Well, Murray, moments later, while he was still making multiple curses, he received a call on his mobile, and it was the Manhattan Moose Rescue Program. They had heard that Murray was an animal lover, and indeed he was, and they were calling to ask if he'd be willing to adopt a moose that was being marooned by a local circus. Now, Murray could not stand the thought of a homeless moose, so of course he said yes. And he was thinking, you know, even if a moose can't work in a circus, maybe they could work in a magic show. Besides, it just might be the publicity stunt that he needed. Well, now the moose was so grateful to be taken off the streets that he was glad to help out with the magic show, and he was good at it. He was particularly adept at that classic magic trick where the moose would get inside this long wooden crate, head and antlers sticking out the front, hindquarters and tail sticking out the back, and Murray would saw him completely in half, and then miraculously, magically put him back together. Sadly, one time while they were doing the trick, the moose lost his tail. Murray had gotten careless with the saw and made a moose steak. Fortunately, they were able to get him a new tail at a retail store. Well, word spread, and suddenly Murray was getting audiences at his magic shows. But it wasn't the audiences that he was expecting. No, it was female sheep. Now, female sheep, as you know, are called ewes. And these ewes of all ages would literally flock into the theater. And they would sit there with their sheepish grins and their big brown eyes, just grazing lovingly up at that handsome moose with his elegant antlers and his hair that was always perfect. He used lots of mousse. And you should have heard the applause at these shows. To help you hear what it's like on the count of 3, I'm going to be Murray taking my final bow. You will be the audience of yous. And I want you to just put your hooves together and make loud buying noises. 1, 2, 3. Well, since the ticket money was just pouring in, Murray said, we got to take our magic show on a worldwide tour. Of course, they had to use the airlines to get around. And the moose was not willing to fly in a plane unless he was up front with the captain, because you see, he wanted to be up front of the plane in the mucilage. But that was okay, because Murray knew that the moose was the one that was bringing in the babes. Well, Murray decided he would even try to expand the moose's role in the show. So the first thing he did was to give the moose a microphone and have the moose play the role of the mooster of ceremonies. He realized that the moose was really good on his hooves. So it behooved him to add in a dance to the moose routine. He even realized he could expand his marketing efforts if he put the moose's name on the marquee and the posters and the flyers. But the moose said no, he'd rather remain not a moose. Well, Murray's magic show was getting more and more famous. But Murray realized he was just not going to be happy unless he had humans in the audience. So it was December of that year he decided he was going to hire a professional publicist, which he did, and the publicist looked around at the situation and said she could do it, you know? And Murray was so busy working up a Christmas show for that year that he just told the publicist, just go with it. He didn't have time to even look at the stuff. You know, he says, just go with it. And so he's working on his Christmas show, comes out on the stage, that Christmas show, packed house, unbelievable, that had turned people away. They had ewes, And they had humans. And it was a fantastic show. You should have heard them applaud when Murray sawed the moose in half. In fact, just to give you an idea what that sounds like, on the count of 3, I want you to make as much noise as can. Bravos for the humans, bahs for the sheep, and pound your hands and your hooves. 1, 2, 3. Well, Murray, you can bet your Moose Tracks ice cream, he wanted to know what had happened. How did that publicist do it? And he cornered her and he said, you've got to give me the answer to this moosery. And she pulled out a poster that she had used. And on it was a picture of Murray. Beside Murray was the picture of the moose in his magic crate with his head and antlers sticking out the front, hindquarters and tail sticking out the back. And beside that was one of the ewes with this biggest sheepish grin you've ever seen, looking lovingly at the moose. And underneath the text read, Murray crates moose and a happy ewe near.